Hello everyone, I just want to make a video of my new to me 87 Chevrolet Cavalier CS Sedan. I bought the car about a month ago. I've been looking for one for 7 years. My family's had 5 of these cars. This is the first gen we've ever had. It's a really clean car. It came from Arizona for 30 years. Then it moved up north to Missouri for 5. And now it's in Wisconsin for the past month, and this car is beautiful. I don't think I'll ever find a clean one. There's no rust on the car. There's some surface rust, but nothing catastrophic, nothing that will compromise the structure of the car. Just a solid car that needs a little bit of paint work. Definitely needs a new coat of paint and a few other bits and ends to make it a more reliable summer daily driven car. This car is just a beauty. There are many of them like it. At least there used to be thousands of them on the road back in the 80s and 90s. And after 2000, it's like they all got an invitation to a junkyard, and they all said, "Sure, we'll be there," and all got crushed in one go. These cars were never saved. They were never thought to be kept. They were never seen as anything classic. Just an ordinary, regular car that people drove A to B, to work, to university, beginner car for a family. I don't understand when people say they need to, well, we'll do another once around, that need a minivan, a truck, an SUV, that all these families that need something larger. However, my family, we've had 5 Cavaliers, and you know what? We did just fine with just those. A small, compact economy car. And me and my brother grew up just fine with just an ordinary compact car. We grew up in the back seats to slowly eventually move to the front passenger seat. And again, soon enough, started driving them. Or at least to me, driving them. My brother wasn't old enough to drive the last Cavalier in my family before it soon fell to the junkyard. This is Cavalier number 6, and this is going to be a forever car, just a legacy. So this car is totally solid, totally straight. It's not totally perfect, but I mean, straight. There's no rust in the usual spots. Bottom of the doors are not Bondo, they're actually steel. The back quarters are not rusted out. Taillights, they're all there. There are a few spots which I plan on fixing eventually, because I like keeping my cars nice and perfect, because I'm a goddamn perfectionist, and I don't like to be driving around in junk. There's one part of the bumper that, ooh, look at that. You can see how clean this car is just by looking at this little gap right here. And we'll do an underside view in a moment, but totally solid. Just a small amount of surface rust. That's just literally it. Like that surface rust, that's not fully through. Just a little bit of wire wheel love and a can of spray matching paint is enough to actually bring this to be quite a properly decent show car. While this is not really a show car to many people, the 35 years of paint eventually going through the clear coat. This is a 2-stage paint. This, that, and really the top of the car being faded. That's really the only bad news of the whole car on the outside. It's just solid. The doors, oh, let's see. Oh, this one just locked itself. Let me open it. Give you a look inside. There we go. This back actuator is a little bit sticky. Needs a bit of a cleaning. Oh, and I just locked it again. How the hell did I manage to do that? Oh, there we go. Opposite land. There we go. The only other place that has some rust that's kind of bubbling, but is not solid, is this. Besides that, a bit of wire wheel, maybe a little film, like a small amount of Bondo, sand it down, make it nice and smooth, and paint it. No one will ever know this ever existed. Just a small bits of bubbling, but it's not through. It's just a bit of sanding and some painting will literally save this car. And the rockers in great shape. Look at that, clean. The doors on all of them, absolutely clean. I have a, where is it? I have a pet rock in the car. I don't know where it came from, but there's a rock in this car. I'm keeping it there for the time being until I find a means to take it out. Molding is original, but it's been re-glued. There's a small little divot right there. A little scuff, but that's not so bad. Small amount there. I don't know. I feel like Nathan from One Owner Car Guy, looking at all the small imperfections, because when I keep a car, I like to keep a clean ship. And I mean, this car is perfect. It just needs a good paint job, a little bit of sanding, and I'm good to go for the long haul. I ran over someone, I don't know who, just a little bit. Small amount of surface rust, not fully through. See on the other side. Again, the doors are absolutely perfect. Rockers on the car. Again, surface rust, not totally through. It's just needs a good wire wheel, a little bit of rust converter, and I'm set to go with this car. It'll never need any more work. I do have the fender moldings. Not for this car, but it took it from another. They'll go back on eventually. Although when I paint the car, these are all coming out to be re-glued again. And a little bit of bubbling right here on this door edge, which again, wire wheel, a bit of Bondo to skim it over to make it nice and smooth, and paint. That's it. Beyond that, oh, a little bit there. Blech. I'm being too picky with a car that's absolutely perfect. You know, the hood. It's a bit sun-scorched. It's got some surface rust. People tell me I should keep it that way, and you know what? I'm not a patina lover. Frankly, I absolutely hate patina. If it's my own car, I want it pristine. I don't want a junker. Just rather have a fresh coat of paint and enjoy it and never have to worry about it again, because if I see rust on a car, it means you have a junk pile, in my opinion. Because I live in Wisconsin, the moment a car starts rusting, you are screwed. You're not getting away with anything unless you take care of it almost immediately. The rear end of the car. This is where all of them tend to die, is the rear twist beam axle, where the mounts attach. Well, when those go, that's kind of it for your car. This is incredibly clean, including the muffler shield is still on the car. It's had a new muffler and exhaust system. It's got some rust, but not totally through. It's pretty clean. A little wire love will take care of that. Underneath the support for the bumper, clean as can be. Next spring, I'm going to wire wheel all the scale off, and I'm just going to paint it black just to kind of make it look nice. And also, if you're eagle eye, you'll notice there's something in the back here that is pretty neat that I didn't have on any Cavalier before. Rear sway bar. That only could mean one thing, and we'll get to that in a moment. Frame rails are absolutely intact. My 96 Cavalier rusted profusely here. This is just absolutely beautiful of a car. Tank is not rotted out. The original straps, had to replace those on a lot of Cavaliers. Oh, there we go. I'm just looking at the spare tire well, which again, clean. So absolutely clean. Even the rear trunk tubs for the quarter panels, absolutely solid. Absolutely clean. Oh, my phone may not focus all too well. But that's solid though. Just an absolutely sweetheart of a car. I'm gonna look at it from the underneath. Oh boy, okay. Can I zoom out a little bit? There we go. So yeah, the trunk pan, gas tank, absolutely solid, just clean as can be, which is what I was hoping for a Cavalier. When I was starting to look for one for many years, and this past summer was really itching me to buy one. I do not want junk. I've already been around and owned enough of these cars that I really do not want junk. I don't want to do body work. I just want to do the basic mechanicals for these cars. Absolutely clean. Oil pan. Tranny pan right there. Starter. Actually, starter may have been replaced not too long ago. Starts real nice though. Let's see. Absolutely clean. You just don't find Cavaliers of this time period in any shape anymore. And it's been owned by 2 women drivers. The first one who special ordered the car in 1987. This was her last car she ever owned. She, I believe, may have been a Northern Arizona University faculty member who ordered the car. This is a Leeds, Michigan produced car, not one made in Janesville. Janesville was the place of manufacture for a lot of Cavaliers, but that's where a lot of the base model and factory generated option cars were built. In Leeds, Missouri, it's where all the special J bodies were all produced, to ones that were super loaded like this one. So let's go over some of the options of this car. We looked around the whole car. So let's actually take a look at the options, going from the front to back, sort of. This fixed mast radial, well, believe it or not, this is actually considered an option, because the radio on all these cars were AM, FM, well actually AM only. It's push button, MTR style, 2000 series. But you still had to tick that option off if you wanted. So this and the radio, which we'll take a look at in a moment, was an option from the factory. It's not the original radio of the car, but I do have it. Actually, it's kind of bad. It's hard to see in the shadows, but in the sunlight you'll find out. This is a two-tone medium rosewood metallic on a dark rosewood metallic paint. It's two-tone. This paint is only optional on CS models. The two-tone is an option, and you got this nice nifty twin pinstripe tape from nose to tail on the car. It's a bit tired, but when I paint the car, I hope to find a good replacement to put that in, because it does look nice. It's a little tired. It started to, chip a little bit. You can't really fix this. You kind of have to repaint it. But this is an option. The wheel arch trim was an option, along with the silver rocker panel trim. That was also an option. The tire sizes on this car is not correct. It should be a bigger size, but this is a 175/70 R13s. They're good tires, it's just they're not correct for this actual car. Which next summer I might just get new tires for it that are proper size. The sport wheel covers for the Chevettes and the Cavaliers, they had the same wheel cover. That was an option on this car that came from the factory, so it has them. The side body molding was standard on the CS, was optional on the standard Cavaliers. The window silhouette, drip rail, and window surroundings, this was standard on all Cavaliers. This just was. For standard Cavaliers, it was manual mirrors, only on the one side, and it was optional on the other. But for the CS, you got a remote left-hand outer mirror, but you still had to option out for the right. So this car has an optional right-hand rear view mirror. So there we go. This one's manual adjusted, but at least what came standard with the car for CS model was remote left-hand rearview mirror. You got your standard GM door handles that they've came with everything. The door edge guard is also a factory installed option on this car. It actually came with that. So that's another option. Since this car came from Arizona, I thought maybe it'd have a rear defroster, but it doesn't, but that's okay. Get this, a Cavalier with a trunk rack. This was a lot of these cars got them dealer installed, but this one has an RPO code for it, so this was a factory installed item. So it's kind of cool that this came straight from the factory like that. Let's see, what else on the rest of this car? Ooh, hello. Look at that. Cavalier CL. So, for a lot of people that know what this is, means the interior is incredibly special. And we'll be taking a look at that in just a moment. So in this case, CL is an interior trim package. Which a lot of people say that it means classic, but this comes from a time when GM was starting to use like letter suffix codes or whatever on their models to denote something like, let's say, CL, CS, RS, Type 10. Although Z24 is the RPO code for a sports appearance and performance package, which actually meant something. But the other model trim names, well, I don't know if they truly mean something. If it's just something that GM thought, hey, let's just come up with a group of letters that sound good. Or CL is supposed to mean classic, but I don't know if that's really what it's called. But then again, there's not much documentation on whether if it is or isn't, so that's left to be decided. I'm not going to really argue too much about it. There's paint on my lens, but oh well. Tricolor tail lamps, which really make this car look pretty modern, because now a lot of cars today have amber turn signals. Well, since we're kind of at the rear end of the car, I may as well take a look at the trunk. It has two different keys, because of course GM. They were still doing that until the early 90s, and they went to all one key. So, look at that, clean. Absolutely fabulous. It's got premium rear deck speakers for the parcel shelf. So this was an option. Let's see. Oh, here. The trunk mounted light, or courtesy light for the trunk, that was an option for this car. But it did not come with the trunk release from the inside, so that's an odd thing they left out. For when the old lady was optioning out this car, she did not opt for that or the rear defroster window. The defroster I can understand being Arizona, but you'd think having a remote radiator needs to go. So I got a upgraded radiator. Here's my plate. Not for the car, but for a buddy. He's making a rally cross celebrity Eurosport coupe. And he wants one without a cruise control, but he still wants his delay wiper settings, so yeah. Sometimes it's just nice to just give parts to friends, because, yeah, just it's fun to help. So, I'm going to have to find a way to blur out my address on those boxes. I should have probably ripped them out. I don't know. Some of these did come with locking gas cap doors, but by the mid-80s, many people didn't bother. It was still an option, but it was something that a lot of people didn't worry about getting their gas stolen. So much for that, but it's okay. Let's see. So that's the exterior of the car. Let's go to the interior of the car. Oh, this thing's got tinted glass. So that's a extra option that the car had. You know what? Here, let's take a look at underneath the hood while we're at it. It's a little windy. Oh, there we go. So it does not have the V6, which is okay because I like the 4 cylinders, a little bit easier to work on. First year for the LL8 engine, so no more distributor, just all coil packs, which is cool. This car came straight from the factory with a heavy-duty alternator and a heavy-duty battery, which has been replaced by a modern one, so that don't matter anymore. But 85 amp 85 amp alternator. Has air conditioning, which doesn't work, but you know, it's complete, I think. Might need a recharge, but I'm not too pressed right now to get it fixed because there's other things I'd rather do. The cruise control, which is a fun option, but this one doesn't work, so I have a new one of those servos planned to replace to see how well, if that might work with the control stock, the smart switch, or it's the smart switch that's bad and needs to be replaced, which I can do myself. Hood light, that's another option. Power steering, which came with the F41 suspension, which comes with a, where's the rack? There's the rack. A special F41 style front rack, which had fewer lock-to-lock turns on the steering wheel. So that and the power steering pump and the rear sway bar was part of the F41 Sports suspension, which gave you stiffer springs front and back. Now we can take a look at the interior of the car. This is what CL gave you, the CL interior package. It came with these nice, comfortable cloth seats, all cloth. And this is rosewood interior cloth seats, which was, I think, an option only for 87. Because you had saddle in 86, but in 87 they decided to have rosewood interior cloth. So this car is entirely rosewood. So it's light brown on dark brown with light brown interior. Talk about the amount of brown. Cloth door cards, which it's kind of hard enough to see with the sun. But this is all cloth, and to be honest, we've never had a, well, I've never had a Cavalier this fully optioned out. Neither of my family's Cavalier. Just, this is the most fully loaded car I've ever come across for a Cavalier, and I am loving it. So cloth door cards. Another option was power locks, which work. Just the actuators on the inside are a little bit sticky, so they might need a little bit of cleaning. But they should work a lot better once I do that. Once I get to it. I'm not too hard pressed to do that. Until they all start failing on me, then I'll clean them out. Then power windows. I've never had a Cavalier. Never grew up with one that had power windows. This is a nice luxury feature, and frankly I quite like it. And all the windows work just fine. Courtesy lights. Never had a Cavalier with courtesy lights. They actually work quite nice. It's an automatic, so it's a 3-speed. That's okay. It's what I was hoping for in a Cavalier anyway, although if I found this exact car with a manual, whew, that would be fun, but an automatic, you know what, that's okay. So with an air conditioning car, you got the ball cooler. So you can choose to have warm or cold balls. Nice. Your headlight switch, your smart switch. I'm gonna go inside. Color keyed dashboard, color keyed steering wheel, color keyed everything. Everything is brown in this car except the shift knob and the optional map light, dome light. This is black. This and the shift handle were the only things that did not change color on all Cavaliers. Beyond that, everything is all color coordinated, which is absolutely nice. Oh, and the coat rack hook is black, but that's a small detail. Oh yeah, the hood liner in this car is mint. Not sagging. Fantastic. The sun visors, which don't have mirrors, because that was an option that the car didn't have. So that's one of the things the owner did not want to splurge on, was looking at herself, but that's okay. The This little strap here was to hold up or to contain your power garage remote or maps, because this thing does not have door map pockets. So they would be put here, but they all expire. All of the Lycra elastic would expire eventually. Like my 96 Cavalier and the 03 Cavalier, and practically every Cavalier that we've ever had that feature, and they all flopped. Just absolutely clean. And I think this is an Arizona car. This fabric and this interior should not have aged this well, but you know what? It's been garaged. I am fully certain this car had been garaged all its life, because fabric and dash plastics should not feel and just hold up this well if it had been in the sun all its life. It was parked outside during the day, so the paint got torched, but the interior is fantastic. So really, it's been parked all the time when it needed to be, and whenever it was out and about, it's the only time that the sun graced the car. Got your lighter ashtray with a light, which apparently there's, I think that's gum. The light's there, it's just turned off. Blank switch for whatever purpose that you may have for a Cavalier. If you have a hatch or a wagon, this would be your hatch release location. If you had a convertible, the power top switch would be right here too. Cavaliers could be option on this side with a rear defroster. However, if you got power mirror on the left side only, that's where that switch would go, and the rear defroster switch would then be relocated here. But this car did not have neither power window, or not power window, but power mirror switch or the rear defroster. It's possible to put a power sunroof here as well, but again, this car did not come option with that, which frankly I'm kind of glad that it didn't. So you got your center console. Sometimes some cars came with a center armrest. That's one option the car didn't have, but you know what? That's okay. No cup holders in sight. But for drive-in movies, or if you were having lunch in your car, you could put cup or a can of something here, but there were never cup holders. My 67 Skylark has this too, but they're never designed to hold cups. Well, not at least in motion. Stationary, yes, but in motion, no. And it's also metal. Such a throwback to the 60s. It's kind of cool. It's a lock and glove box. It's fun that it's metal. So, this is where the fun part begins. It's got F41 sport suspension. Normally this would say Chevrolet. From 82 to 1990, it would always say Chevrolet, but if you got F41 sports suspension, you would have this instead. But earlier cars, this right here would be red with white letterings. But this one's silver, so this is a pretty late car. And I think 87 is the final year where they did that, because I don't think 88 or 89, if a car was optioned with F41, I don't think they bother to do that anymore. So, pretty special feature for this car. Get your power locks or power window on that side. Another view of the door cards. These seats are absolutely fantastic with adjustable headrest. All the other cars were integrated headrests. The vinyl seats and the cloth vinyl seats of these cars were uncomfortable. They were soft, they held you well, but they were not that, they were never comfortable for any duration of time, or else these seats just feel great. And I drove this car from Missouri to Wisconsin for 6 hours, and I have a bad back. Like, my back's messed up from a bad accident 11 years ago. Rear end collision. Really messed me up bad. And this is the only car I own, besides the Skylark, that's comfortable. My daily driven Kia is not that comfortable. You have a little storage bay for your 8-track tapes and cassette tapes. Yes, this car in 19 82 came with an optional 8-track player. So you can, in theory, put an 8-track tape upright and, you know, stick them down. They'll fit just right like that. And cassette tapes would then be inserted in their lengthways dimension like that. Oh. Oops. Oh, and the tape came out anyway. You know what? I'll just leave that there. So, what else does this thing have? Look at that. Comfort tilt steering wheel. Only my 96 came with tilt steering wheel. Intermittent windshield washer, or wipers. The delay setting. Cruise control, which the switch may or may not work, but that's okay. I can replace it if I need to. It's a pain in the ass, but it can be done on its own. To remove these, so the mist setting, you push away. To remove these, you push towards you, and then you pull out. That will unlock from the wiper module, which really is what controls this. It's literally a shaft that goes and controls within this module itself. So the wiper, the control stock does nothing with this car. 3-spoke steering wheel, which was only standard on CS models, was optional on all the others. Color coordinated too. Dashboard's not cracked in any means. Rear view mirror that's smaller than anything else I've ever owned. It's just a very well kept car. Now, I have the original radio for this car. It's not this. This is a incredibly rare 2000 series MTR with all the bells and whistles for tape deck. They had one for 8-track tape, but those are hen's teeth. But this is just as rare. And I needed a radio to drive back home with, to listen to tunes with cassettes, because I like cassettes. I do intend to put the original radio back in. It's just an ordinary ETR 2000s tape deck, not 5-band equalizer. Those were RS and Z24 equipment. That radio was the highest trim you could go on a standard and CS model. And let's take a look at something that is rarely ever seen on a Cavalier. Full instrumentation, temperature, fuel, oil pressure, and voltmeter. Of course, a trip odometer with the standard speedometer. This is a U22 RPO code. Quite a rare cluster. Not many Cavaliers, period, ever got it. And I believe 1987 was the last year you could get this cluster. After that, you got the standard speedometer on one side and the fuel gauge, like it always has been for base clusters, on the other. And these two circles, which do light up as backlight, the temperature, oil, and voltmeter warning lights would be in the center. And I don't know, frankly, I really like the look of this gauge cluster. It would be fun to have a tachometer, but that was 82 to 86 only. 87, they stopped optioning out these cars with that, so the only other cluster option you could get for it was full instrumentation without tachometer. And then in 88, that went away. Who knows, maybe 88 was the last year you could get full instrumentation, but I've never seen a second gen first phase with this cluster. Just always the standard one. It's got air conditioning, which again doesn't work. No shoulder belts. That did not come about until I think 1990, or was it 91? All right. Well, I figure probably want to hear how it starts and see how well it drives. Oh, your remote mirror control. And this is a metal piece, actually. Alright, let's get this thing started. And everything likes to zoom around, like the temperature needle and I believe it's the voltmeter that likes to spaz out, while the oil pressure stays around above or below 40 psi. It's about typical. When it's cold, it runs at about 50. When it gets to normal temperature for oil and, you know, viscosity and such, it's about 35 to 38. It's pretty typical. Just a really, really smooth car. And it's got a newer engine that's been rebuilt. The transmission shifts quite smoothly. Oh, this is about the only bit of wear and tear on the whole car. That's just kind of typical. Buckle up for safety, because that's what GM wants. You're no good to them dead, because they want to keep buying their cars. So, and these heater controls, for how simple they are quite nice. It's quite a warm day for November, which is wild. Rush, a show of hands. And I do like listening to tapes. I just want to put that back properly. Oh, also too, while we're looking at the floor, is that this car has dealer installed floor mats. This car was not optioned out from the factory with floor mats, because as on the back trunk tag from where this car was from in Scottsdale is Ray Court Chevrolet from Scottsdale, Arizona. These are the original dealership floor mats, and they're actually rosewood color, so that's pretty cool. And even the rears are like that too. And of course, you got an ashtray. Ah! Sorry about that. Oh, this is upside down. There we go. You guys are all confused now. Flying and falling all over the place. And these pedals have not changed much from the 60s. Same pedals. Much like the headlight switch. My 67 Skylark and the 87 Cavalier share the same part. It's the same part number. It's the same exact switch. Except this is full brightness, and this is obviously the dome light setting. I plan on switching this knob another 1/4 of a degree so that this looks towards the right, because this is kind of silly. I don't know, it's my OCD working with me. I don't know. There we go. Alright, well, let's drive around the neighborhood with this car. So, what does this car need? What does it need? Well, it needs new motor mounts. It needs a radiator, or at least a few other cooling components, but mostly radiator, hoses, thermostat. I think that's pretty much it that I plan to replace on that. At some point I want to replace the water pump next spring and the belt tensioner. I got a new serpentine belt for it, but I want to at least replace it now. But I'd rather have the time next spring to kind of replace other things in better weather. It's just, I'm not used to having a November in Wisconsin to be this nice. What else? So besides doing a little bit of some body and paint work on it, which is really minimal, I want to get cruise control working. I want to get the air conditioner to work. I want to put the original radio back in because it needs a new belt. Let's see, what else? I want to get proper sized tires because I think the tire size on this car should be 195/80 R13s, which this is 175/70 R13s, which makes this car feel slower than it should be because the speedometer is off by a little bit. Although past 45 miles an hour, it's really off. But at 35, 40, it's about right. So let's see. Let's make a left up here. Mr. Audi behind me is tailgating my tail because he likes Cavalier so much that he has to get so close to it to start seeing the number stampings on the sheet steel. Yeah, just driving around in the neighborhood. So, what other things do I plan on doing with this car? I might maybe do the front brakes. It's probably due for some pads and maybe new rotors, although I may end up just changing them all out just to be on the safe side. Yeah, I could get the rotors machined, but kind of would like to start fresh on that anyway. That way I know that's good. Maybe replace the calipers depending on how beat up the current ones are, but seeing how this thing stops all right. The previous owner that I bought the car from did a lot of maintenance to this car. A brand new brake system. This car is running on original brake lines, and it's got a brand new master cylinder. I think it's got a brand new brake booster, possibly brand new calipers, but I know that the drums, or the brake hardware, and the calipers, rotors, and pads were new at one point. So, car's been maintained well as far as braking is concerned. You did not stop, sir. Dare you? Let's see. The engine, the original engine, which isn't in this car, mysteriously blew up. Which I don't know exactly how that happened, but apparently the serviceman who found out the cause of why the engine stopped running was engine oil was leaking out the side. So it probably either threw a rod or something, knocked a big hole out of the side of the engine, and in a sense made the engine unusable. So they found another LL8 engine from, again, an 87 to 89 Cavalier, which this engine was only in production for 3 years. Partially rebuilt the upper end on it. The lower end is apparently stock, but that's all right by me, because these engines overall are pretty robust. But it's got a new head gasket. The head's been done, so feels and drives like a brand new car. The front suspension has been replaced at one point, so you know everything feels quite nice and soft. But from a friend who's driven a Cadillac Cimarron, and this car, said that my Cavalier is a much more firm handling car. Even if the front left sway bar link had been snapped, it still somehow rides so much more firmer, like a small little economy sports car. And it's quite cushiony in its own right. I don't know, it's a nice driving car. I absolutely love it. Temperature stays right where it should. I'm gonna go this way. I'm gonna see where this takes me, because I'm just driving around in New Berlin. 45-minute long video, but you know what? When's the last time you've actually seen a first-gen Cavalier this documented? Aw, it's a Husk! Aw, everyone's walking their dogs because it's like 60, 65 degrees on November 7th, so really unusual day. Everyone's wearing shirts, everyone's going out for walks and whatnot, and the Cavalier is going on a little joyride because this little car loves to be driven, and it's been carried so well. So I guess I guess I will have to dedicate this video to the first owner of the car, who special ordered this car. Like every bell and whistle, the sports suspension, the white lettered tires that the car allegedly came with from the factory. Little old lady that I do not know, thank you for building what is considered a really unique car that most Cavaliers in this form does not exist this well equipped. And the second owners of the car, Marty and Alexa, I applaud you for saving a Cavalier. You could have junked this car. You could have said, you know what, the engine blew, car's not worth anything. You could have tossed this car away, and you didn't. Thank you for saving this car. I feel bad that you lost money selling the car to me, but the cost, or the price that you sold the car for to me is fair. And I would not wanted to have hammered that price down any lower, because I knew that this car was going to be a joy and something to be enjoyed. Thank you, Marty and Alexa, for saving this car, doing all the proper maintenance to it. You are all good people if you're keeping a Cavalier of this age on the road and no one's telling you to do so, and little knowing that these cars are as rare as they are now. You guys are legends in my book. I thank you. And now, me being the third owner, this car is going to be incredibly pampered, incredibly loved. So with that, I got this little walk and drive around of this 87 Cavalier CS Sedan with the CL interior and the, I was going to say Z24, the F41 sports suspension. Although it might handle just as nice as a Z24, it just does not have the V6 power of it. But this is such a sweetheart of a little car. And I am going to do the best I can to keep it on the road for as long as I can. And I'm going to tell you this outright. This car is not for sale, and it will not be for sale. I've been wanting to find one to keep forever, and you know what? I finally found one that I'm very happy with to call my own. I feel very proud, and I'm kind of excited to see what adventures it'll bring me. Whether good or bad, I'm going to stick with this car through and through like the Skylark. There are 5 Cavaliers before it, and now it's going to continue that legacy of being our family car. So, more videos to come. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good day.